Hello, everyone. It's Jill and Jamie again, and we're a bit quicker now, aren't we, Jamie? Now we've gone to every 2 weeks again, and wow, doesn't it go whizzing by? Anyway, welcome to Heads and Dovetails with myself, Jill Harvey-Bush. Let's get the introduction done properly, and Jamie Hubbard. Jamie, the week, hasn't it been? Have you done any celebrations?
It's a funny week, really, for me because busy anyhow, as everybody is. We're all running around, but my mom was 6 years old on VE Day,
Oh, wow.
so I went to see my mom yesterday morning. She was six. She remembers it. I've done a little bit of recording with my mom. I'm not telling her that. I'm just I'm just recording things she says, and I'll edit it at some point, and I'll probably put some pictures at some point
Mm.
and do a little private video tucked away on YouTube so that nobody can really find it, but I can and other people if I share a link. So yeah, we had a chat about that, and she remembers it well. She was six. It was her birthday. Apparently, she didn't know then, but apparently it was announced at just 2 minutes past midnight
Right.
on that day by Churchill on the radio. And next morning was a joyous morning, but it was her birthday. She was six.
And I bet she
And
probably thought, wow, what a celebration for my birthday.
well,
What a
well,
party.
well, yes. I said to. I mean, this was interesting, really, because I said to her, I said, "Well, it was your birthday, so were you?" I mean, my granddaughter's six. So I know how she is now because we can't remember certain dates exactly how old, what you were like at that
Mm.
age, can we? But I look at her and I think, right, well, mom was like that. So I said, were you excited? Did it make it more exciting? Were you a bit frustrated that there was a bit this great big thing going over? What was your um? And she said it was just they lived opposite a church,
Mm.
and she said they had to go down into the cellar the next morning, and they went down, and she helped get tables and things out, and she was with her mom and her dad, and she said, and it was just she said everybody just mucked in, and I've chatted to my mom about her street before, and the beautiful thing about her little street, which is just a little black country normal street, very mixed street of houses,
Hmm.
um, was that you've got terraced houses there, but you'd also got detached houses there,
Hmm.
and the bank manager lived up the road, and Mr. So and so, who owned the two shops, one in there and one over here, lived up the road, and he'd got a car, and it was and it we don't we they didn't have. It feels like they didn't have this keeping up with the Joneses thing that's going on.
Mm.
They'd tip the hat to each other, and they didn't. People with a bit of money didn't look down on people because I think they also knew then, because it was a very small world compared to now. I think they knew then that that's potentially another customer. That's a neighbour. He knows
Yeah.
what I does, and great little community. So yes, they I got food out, and they had the tables out, and they were on the little green patch. And I remember this green patch. I remember because that was the church where I went to, what do you call it, preschool, when I was three.
Nursery.
Hated it, wanted my mom, hated it, didn't want to mix with other people, just miserable.
But did
But she
you
had a
do,
great
so you
time.
had a great time with your mum on Sunday. Did you do anything else? Or, I mean, I missed all the
Well, this
celebrations on TV, to be honest. I'm so busy outside, I forgot.
Yeah, no, I just saw my mom, and there was something on the radio and we were listening to it, and I spent some time with my mom. And then I went to the workshop and I'd got people. So that
Right.
was it. That was my
Yeah.
day. And my day really finished when I got back here about 8:30 last night. So
Well, it was a lovely, I mean, over the weekend, it was lovely on the Saturday, not so bad on the Sunday. And then the Monday, the temperature just dropped. And
yeah,
there was a cream tea, Clive and his little ukulele group. They're called the Travelling Woodberries.
I
Uh,
like that. I like that.
the Travelling Woodberries, it's a little ukulele group you set up in the village for anybody who wants to learn ukulele can can come along. They meet once a month. And we have a very active village, I must say that. So there's always something. If it's a celebratory day, there's something going on the green. And it was a cream tea and come and celebrate VE Day. And they'd asked the little ukulele group, Chris Leah, who kind of is in charge of the village, it feels like, for events, asked them would they go and do a little set. So Clive said yes. Well, they were freezing, Jamie. I mean, we
Yeah,
all had coats on. Everybody had hats and gloves, and the little ukulele group. And Clive went down in his lovely, Union Jack t-shirt, thinking that he would wear that. But of course, it was so cold. He had a thermal on underneath that. He had a jumper and a shirt on, and he didn't take his jacket off. And in fact, a couple of the group, put jackets on before they started, realizing
yeah,
just how cold it was. And then, of course, it became difficult because you couldn't feel your fingers. And when you're not an experienced ukulele player, that's even more difficult. So they were great. They did about 20 minutes. They finished off with a 7-minute medley of all the wartime songs while everybody was queuing for tea, scones, sandwiches all cut up. There was all the bunting up. So that was lovely. I mean, if you wanted a glass of prosecco, there was a glass of prosecco, but that was an extra pound. And they raised money for charity. So Chris Leah, the lady in the village, she's actually, I think, got an MBE now for the amount of money that she's raised for the forces, and she has a little bookstall outside her house. She just puts all the books out every day. If you want a book, go and have a look. And, it's an
wow,
honesty box. And that money then gets donated. And of course, Chris then will take any books that you don't want. She'll take some of those. So yeah, there's always very active. And there was other stuff going on in the village as well for the kids. And so yeah, nice weekend. Other than being freezing cold. And I must admit, we didn't hang around after Clive finished. We came home for a hot cup of tea.
yes, yes. Well, I didn't realise the celebration was starting on the Sunday. I went Sunday to a yoga session, Park Yoga. It's a charity, and
Right.
they are organising free yoga in parks all across the UK. And I went to Worcester, and I found my way there, and it was a bit of a trip. It was 30 minutes in the car, but
Mm.
found my way there, and it was a bit grey. Put the mats down. There were 23 or 24 of us. I was the only bloke. Typically, I don't mind. And 10 minutes in, it started raining.
Oh
And
no.
a couple of women, you could tell the ones actually, they probably had the hair done in the last couple of days. The hair looked really nice. They disappeared. Four of them, three or four of them, disappeared very quickly, running, covering the. I get it. And it got a bit worse. I I
Oh
took my then
no.
I was going to take my socks off because my socks were wet. Put them
Oh.
inside my shoes, turn them upside down, my trainers, so that the water would run off those. And then I was so wet that when I looked at, so imagine we're in a park, so it's green grass.
Mm.
You've got your
Mm.
yoga mat. You put your
But
foot in your yoga mat and you put your weight on it, all the water runs to your
runs.
foot.
Yes.
So I looked down and I was doing one of the poses. I don't know what was going on. I was doing very well, actually. And I looked down and I just saw the front part of my feet over my toe knuckles covered in water. And I just thought, what am I doing? And then I just, within no time at all, um, back to focusing and getting on with it. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
They
Thoroughly
didn't do a
enjoyed it.
lie down for 10 minutes relaxation in the swimming pools on your mat, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, you're joking. No, I'm
Last 15
out.
minutes.
I'm
Oh, Jill.
out. I'm
Last
out.
50, last 10 or 15 minutes lying down, the rain just gently touching your face. It was very gentle at that point. I think it realised what was going on. And I'd got my big coat on. I hadn't taken my coat off. I got my big coat on that's sort of waterproof. And you could just feel it. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience.
For me, that would be hell because I hate wet clothes with a vengeance.
Soaked.
I just hate it. If I'm gonna get wet, I've got to immediately, like if I go out for a walk and I'm heading home and I get soaked, okay, I'm soaked. But the minute I walk in the door, it's all got to come off and I've got to get showered, changed, and put something dry on. I hate wet feet, That's another thing. So I always make
Yeah.
people laugh, like Clive, if I was doing the steeplechase as a race, every time I jumped over the water jump, they have that water they run through, I'd have to stop, dry my feet and put dry socks on. I hate that feeling of wet clothes against your body.
It's
it's
not,
really
you know
bizarre. I just
something,
don't like it.
Jill, and you're the coach.
I know. I just don't
Jill,
like it. It
well, I
feels
well,
horrible. It's
I'm with you. I'm with you, but maybe I'm getting better in myself because my legs, my sort of tracky bottoms, whatever they're called, were stuck to me
ugh.
as I was lying there. And it's all nylon-y sort of fabric, isn't it? And they were stuck to me. I'd got no socks on. Actually, I'd have been better off just stripping off, but you can't do that, can you? Um,
Naked yoga in the park. No, you might have
no,
somebody coming up and being arrested, Jamie.
yeah. So I got back in the car, and then
Ugh.
I'd got a 30-minute drive. But when I did get home, when I got home, yes, jumped in the shower, put the plug in so that I'd got 2 inches of warm hot water over my toes, and I was buzzing for the rest of the day. I'd had a coffee before I went. Lynn had done a coffee when I was in. I think I took a shot coffee to the shower and had a coffee while I was showering and warming up. Um, and I'll be honest with you, I was a bit concerned that I might be
Chill
allowing a
in.
cold.
Yeah.
And I was really worried with that, but I was buzzing a bit and I got hot and dried myself properly and put plenty of layers on after that to make sure I stayed warm. But my head was in such a good place. It was so,
No, I
I
could
loved it.
to qualify, I could do the probably could do the yoga, but immediately it finished, I couldn't lie on the mat. That would just be like hell to me. There's no way I could relax and lie on the mat. As soon as it would finished, I'd have to get changed immediately. I could not climb in the car and then
Couldn't
drive
you?
home. No, 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 no. That's my idea of torture.
Well, I'm trying to be a better person than I used to be. So I think
Yeah.
by being patient and going through all of that, I bet if I listened back to some of our early podcasts, I bet I was a miserable, grumpy old thing. Was I?
No,
I
Jamie,
feel,
but you definitely seem a much happier person these days,
yeah,
so
yeah,
but it's a whole combination. It is a mindset thing,
it
as
is.
we were just saying before we came on, it's about not worrying, and it's amazing when you let stuff go, how other stuff comes in. I was just saying about clients, I'm getting to the point I'm not chasing clients anymore, and they seem to be dropping off a bit over the week, and that's when I'd started willow weaving, thinking that's fine. I'm ready for, if you like, I'm getting ready for my next career. That if I don't have any clients, and I think that's what I say with my own clients, is don't leave it till it's too late, if you know what I mean, or till you
Yes,
suddenly want to change careers, like your guys who were doing woodworking. If
yes.
they then lost their job for some reason, and I have now got three clients who've all just been made redundant,
Have you?
then you kind of go, don't think about starting something now. That's kind of too late. If you
Yes,
start it alongside something else, just as an interest,
yes.
then you've already got another skill.
You're
Should
more,
something happen, yeah, your
yeah.
guys would be able to do
You're more.
stuff.
There's more chance of you benefiting from it. I mean, when I was building the boats, I was still making bits of furniture. I was still
Mm,
doing little jobs for people. I was still doing all sorts of bits,
mm,
but my bills were paid by building boats.
yes.
Um, and then
But then,
when
as you say, when you get to a point you wanted to give up building boats, you had
well, I didn't
another
want to.
skill. Well, you know what I mean? You had another skill set
Yeah,
going
and it made it
alongside.
a lot easier.
Yeah.
Made it a lot easier.
Yes, if you're prepared to do anything, or go from some, clients, they're on the six, seven-figure salaries or six-figure salaries, and then suddenly go, oh my goodness, now I've just been made redundant.
I know.
And you kind of go, what do I do? Well, even if you're only earning a small amount coming in every month, that small amount may pay for, a bit of shopping, and I also think it's about self-worth, and it helps
Mm,
people stay more confident, because
mm.
when you're looking for a job, and we do have people and clients, they're a year on and they're still applying for jobs and using their network, and they're working, they literally
Yeah,
work as if, and that's their full-time job, looking for a job. But of
yeah.
course, it's really disheartening as
Yeah.
opposed to, well, if I'm doing something else just alongside it, I don't know, that could be working in the local coffee shop for a few hours,
Yes.
or it gives you a sense of I've got some job satisfaction coming back. Because I think
Yeah.
the toughest thing that people that struggle, and you hear it, youngsters particularly, but these are big corporate guys who've lost their senior jobs now and are going, well, where do they now get their job satisfaction? Where do they get their self-worth? Where do they get, feeling valued? Because all they're
Yes.
getting is negative, 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 negative. They're getting
Yeah.
right the way through. They're getting through the final interview, and yes, we'll be doing an offer. Oh, actually, because of what's just happened in the world, that job's now been removed. That role has gone. Sorry, we've decided we're restructuring. That role has gone. And that's really hard to
Yes.
keep going when you've got no feedback. Whereas if you've got something small, whether it, like you say, I'm not just making, but I can make a bit of furniture or I can do some massage. That's one person who very nicely kind of out of interest thought, oh, I'll go and learn how to do massage, which she did. And actually, that's kind of been her saving grace at the moment
That's it.
because although it's not her big salary, she's getting feedback that I'm bringing in something to the family household.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm getting interaction with clients who are giving me positive feedback. So
Yes.
I think
And a sense
that's
of self-worth, which is
exactly,
exactly what you
yeah,
need. I've got a couple of guys who come to my workshops, a young lad who's been doing working in joinery shops, and joinery isn't what joinery used to be. But anyhow, he's working in like an assembly sort of woodworking shop. Um, and he's okay with it. And he's been doing that while he's trying to further his career into or get into acting.
yes,
And they said when he went for because he's been going to interviews recently in London and Edinburgh and all over the UK, and that one of the things that kept coming up was the fact that um, he does woodworking. He's got this job and he's working on that and he's uh, enjoying it, and it's almost his his career until the acting starts taking over. And if the
mm,
acting doesn't go brilliantly well, he can still do that as a job. And they like that about him. So they're
yes,
looking at him and saying, well, we like this about you. We like that. Your acting's great and whatever. And we love the fact that you've got something you can fall back on.
absolutely. And I think
That's it.
that's crucial for
Yeah.
so many things. As I said, it's just that self-worth. I've got something that if I needed it, I've been enjoying it, I could go ahead and do. For
Yeah.
me, that's was thinking about the willow. I'm not in the flush of youth in my career, let's put it that way. But it's a feeling of actually I would still like to do something.
It's do
Um,
something new as well that you
yes.
that and this is the thing, isn't it? It's if you start something that you fancy doing,
Yeah,
you don't know where it's going to take you.
exactly.
You don't know how far. I mean, like me and my yoga, I didn't think. I mean, if you'd have told me Sunday that it's going to pee down for 50 minutes of this hour, 45 minutes, I'm exaggerating, it's 45 minutes. If you told me it was going to rain that much,
You
I'd
wouldn't
have
have
probably
gone.
gone, I'm not going. I'll give it a miss, but I won't bother. But actually, now after that, if you tell me now it's going to be rain, it's all right. I'm fine. I might even take my brolly. What use that would be, I don't know. But it means I'll
So
probably
I
be
can just
dry.
imagine some new yoga poses with holding your brolly with your foot,
Oh,
or
I could do
holding it
the
with your hand.
tree with a brolly on the
Yeah.
top. So, but you don't know. I mean, I don't know whether I should say this on here. I'll say it. I'll say it. I've started to learn Japanese.
I think that's amazing. You did mention that actually on the last podcast.
Did I? I know it draws you in with adverts, and as I said, the adverts um, aren't that frequent. Don't really notice them, but they've made it so that you get a bit addicted to it. And if I'm learning words and the characters, I haven't just done this. I've looked at it and gone onto Google and said, do people actually learn from these apps, these language
Yeah.
apps? And it sounds like if you do 6 to 12 months, but after maybe 6 months or so, or before that, start watching some cartoons or early learning. I watched an early learning video of a young this woman's done this Japanese woman's done this little animation thing about bringing a friend home and whatever, and it was just more words, and it was just like hearing them, and it's you've got to do something else with it, not just rely on the
Right,
app.
right.
But it is good. I am, and you know something, I think it's keeping busy, it's freeing up a bit of space, and this will I who knows where this will take me. Who knows?
Absolutely. I do have a funny story about this with our friend Derek, who is our woodworker, came to stay last week. But this happened quite a few years ago now, probably 20 years ago, that he was doing a exhibition. So he'd been asked to go to Japan to do an exhibition. So he's busy and he took the wood and everything. And Derek is deaf. To put the context to this, Derek is deaf unless he's wearing, and he's got very, very powerful hearing aids in both ears, as well as being a musician, but he's deaf. And this is why then he was being introduced to a Japanese lady and she was introducing. So, she bent down. So Derek bent down. So she bent down. So Derek bent even lower because he couldn't hear her. So she then bent down, and then Derek said he was practically on his knees before realizing somebody told him, no, 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 that's the Japanese way of when you say hello, you get lower than the person, that she was, as he was one of the exhibitors, etc., etc. So Derek said there was this really funny situation where the two of us were getting lower and lower and lower and lower, her not realizing that he couldn't hear her
That's why
because
he
she
was
was
doing it. Yeah.
yes, because her voice was going to the floor, if you see
Right.
what I
Yeah.
mean. So he was going down to try and listen. So yes, I just had this very funny
Bless.
image of the two of them.
Bless.
But yes, it's also it's good. It gives you something, as you say, it keeps your brain going. You're learning something new, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm all for that. It's important, and
It
like
is.
you say, you never know when you're going to need it.
N-
I was talking
No.
to a lady, Eleanor, who does the willow and rope coffins, and she now does
Yeah.
ones with material round,
Oh, they're
beautiful.
beautiful.
And we were
They're
talking,
beautiful.
yeah, they're absolutely stunning. And we were talking about how, she was into felting and she'd done a bit of sewing and then a bit of this and a bit of that. And you just don't know how the felting then led to the rope making, which led to getting involved with the sheep, to shearing and all sorts of things. And the other day when I saw that she was making these beautiful ones, she and I commented, and Eleanor said, as we said, no skill is ever lost. And I now seem to be using all the skills I've
Yes.
learnt
Yes.
over goodness knows how many years, from sewing to felting to it's all coming together. So,
Yes.
and who knew, that she now has a completely different career to where she started.
And and
So I,
and and as you say, I mean those coffins she does and the other pieces, they
yes.
just look so beautiful. I showed my mom and I said, these are I wouldn't mind going if I know I was going that way.
No,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
That's exactly and we don't talk about death enough in this country. That's exactly what I've said that I want is
Yes.
I want a very natural, I don't
Yeah.
want a very dark wood, I don't want somber, I will go back to the earth,
Yeah.
so to speak. I'm not religious, so there won't be any religious ceremony as such. So it's so funny how we started in one place, Jamie. We've ended up talking about something completely different. But going back, so closing off this loop, it is, I think, important. And the amount of business people I know who are running their businesses and then don't have any other interests. So then when they're coming towards the end of their career and wanting to retire, a lot of
Yeah.
them, and again, it was a couple of guys that I've had recently, in their 60s, wanting to retire, hand over their businesses, but then have said to me, but what would I do?
I
I
know.
don't want to be on the golf course all day, and yet I haven't got anything else to do. So I might as well stay working. And I just think, oh my goodness,
No,
what a shame. But they're not alone, Jamie. There's a lot of people,
there
male and
is.
female, who suddenly
Yeah.
go, if I didn't have work, what would I do? And I'm
Yes.
going, oh my God, I haven't got enough life to do
There's
everything
so
I
much
want to
out there
do.
to do. You just haven't found it
Absolutely.
yet. One of my
Exactly.
one of my people, she's she retired, and she told me yesterday that when she retired, She spent 18 months. It was not a quick decision. It wasn't suddenly put forced upon her. It was thought about, but she still then felt a sense of loss. And in her industry that she was in, she'd said typically in our industry, when you retire, you people are usually gone within 6 months. And I
Mm,
was just like, yeah, I mean, I've seen that. I think we've all seen it, haven't we? We all know somebody that retired and then, but this crossover of paths, especially with something you touched on earlier, this crossover of things that you do is what keeps you you, and it's what
mm,
keeps your head in a good place. And
mm.
it you don't realize until something drastic happens, you don't realize just how much you can fall back on those. And if you've got nothing,
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Then no, I'm the same. I mean, luckily I've got lots of
I
different
couldn't do
skills
it.
that I could. And I think, okay, it might not earn me the sort of money, but it would earn something, and it would
Yes.
give that feeling of self-worth and even if I had to go to gardening, I'd be more than happy to go and cut somebody's lawn and do their borders and do a bit of
Yeah,
weeding and help them out if they've got an allotment or something like that. It's all of that that's, I think, crucial to have other interests
it
and to
is.
start it a lot younger. But of course, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I'm busy with my career and I'm traveling and so on and so on and so on." I
Well,
think no, you can always find time.
yes. Well, I've said it before, and I think when that you do that thing about where you say to your what would you say to your 18-year-old or 16-year-old
Yes,
self?
yes.
Meditation, yoga, keep doing the woodworking. That's it. Get into that.
Me, I
What would you do?
for my younger self, I would say start learning things a lot easier. I wish I'd known about heritage skills, but that's difficult because back then I wasn't interested in it.
No,
So it's always what would you tell your younger self? But actually, back then, my younger self would have just looked at me and thought, You're bonkers. What
you
are you
are.
talking
Yeah,
about? I'm having great fun flying around the world. Why would I want to do
I
that?
know. I know.
Where's the next vodka and tonic sort of attitude? So. Anyway, Jamie, we're going to keep to our 30 minutes. We
Okay,
did say, didn't we, that we're going to do 30
we did.
minutes. I have put a timer on, so we're on 28. So we've got a
Are
couple
we?
of minutes to say cheerio. And hope you've enjoyed it. A couple of real little gems there, I think, today about, yeah, maybe do think if you're at a working age, thinking about retirement, think about actually what could I do? There's lots of little courses out there that
Yeah,
you can have a go at, and it also means that you're meeting people. So again, we'd like to say thank you to everybody who listens to us, wouldn't we? We do appreciate it,
we
even if
do.
it's as we say, even if it's only a few. So what's on your list this week then, Jamie? Next couple of weeks, busy teaching before we
Oh,
finally go.
yes. Think and I think yeah, well my daughter's getting married in a couple of weeks, so we'll see how the
Oh, that's
dates. Yeah, so yeah, we're um
that's coming
we're,
around quickly. She
we're
says,
getting
drop the phone.
close. So the stress levels are high. If you get what I mean, read between the lines. For some,
Yes,
stress levels are very high.
yes,
So
which it shouldn't
it's
be really, but
well, it is, and my thought, I suppose, my little minute for the my few seconds for this is my few seconds for this is just go with it.
I think that's our ending thing this week, isn't it? In life, just go with it,
Yeah,
and you never know what's going to happen. Jamie, great to talk to you. 2 weeks' time, we'll be back again. And if you'd like to make sure you get all our episodes, then please do subscribe to Heads and Dovetails. And of course, if ever you want to comment, we love people to join in the conversation and tell us what you think or anything in particular you'd like to talk about. So from VE Day, isn't it, to, yeah, just go with it, I think is going to be it this week.
yeah.
Jamie, you take care, and I'll speak to you in a couple of weeks.
And you, bye.
Bye.